So I grew up in Burlington, Vermont, but my ancestors were among the first settlers to Cambridge. I was not a particularly good student. When I was in 7th grade, I decided not to do any more homework, but simply to read every book in the library. That was really pretty transformational. I'd read the diary of an ancestor of mine who'd decided to get up every morning at 3 o'clock and learn different languages, learn philosophy, science, etc. And to some degree that took me on the path that led to where I am today. I love learning. I love research.
Suzanne Preston Blier is an American art historian who currently serves as Allen Whitehill Close Professor of Fine Arts and Professor of African and African American Studies at Harvard University. The author of 15 books, Suzanne is a highly accomplished writer, historian, and academic who will be your guide on this brisk journey through Harvard and the road you might take to get there, should you choose that path.
So Harvard was originally founded as an Indian college to educate the indigenous Americans. Over the course of the last 5-10 years, we've worked hard to rebuild the importance of our indigenous legacy. And at commencement, just at the end of last week, for the first time in my memory, we've acknowledged the presence of the Massachusetts, who were the original landholders here. What really transformed me, I was in Washington, D.C. working in the U.S. Senate the summer that Bobby Kennedy was killed. And seeing the hearse that carried his body was pretty transformative. And the next year decided to quit school and join the Peace Corps and went to Africa. And since that time I've been passionate about African art and architecture, and much of my publications have been focused on this rich tradition from broadly across the continent of Africa. This is really the center of college life. It's called the Yard. It used to be a cow pasture, but it's a beautiful campus, really serene. You can look at the importance of trees. Originally there was one tree where a lot of kind of rebellion took place around, but each of the trees is marked, and I think they've really done a good job, not only in preserving buildings, but also part of the landscaping. After I got back from Peace Corps, I finished up my degree at the University of Vermont. I'd never dreamed of actually going on to academia. It was beyond my wildest imagination. Got into the PhD program and then taught there for a while. And when Harvard opened up its first position in African art, I was hired and came to Harvard because I really wanted to develop and really showcase the importance of African art here. This is one of the oldest buildings on campus, Massachusetts Hall. It's where the president and provost have their offices. And still today they have students living in the upper floors. And there you have one of the most iconic pieces of sculpture on campus, which is the sculpture of John Harvard, which actually doesn't represent him, but it's assumed to be. And there is a kind of tradition that if you touch the foot of John Harvard, you'll have great fortune. For students here, there's another tradition involved with the foot of John Harvard that makes most of us who are in the know never want to touch the foot of John Harvard. The perception is that Harvard is really hard to get into, and to some degree that's true, but although lots of people apply, we get a whole range of really diverse students who get in, and if they are in financial need, then they're actually paid for. One of the things that I've learned in the course of writing this book, it's actually harder to publish a children's book than it is for many people to get into Harvard. I've written all told about 15 books. I have another one coming out this year. It's the history of African art. I've written a book on Vodou, or voodoo, African voodoo, framed in the Republic of Benin, but that also crosses into this world. And I've written a book on Picasso. My interests also lie in the early relationship between Africa and Europe. And my current book project is called 1325, How Medieval Africa Made the World Modern.
Harvard University is a private Ivy League research university in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Founded in 1636 as Harvard College and named for its first benefactor, the Puritan clergyman John Harvard, it is the oldest institution of higher learning in the United States. Its influence, wealth, and rankings have made it one of the most prestigious universities in the world.
There are tunnels that run all through here that are secret tunnels that some students know how to get into and out of.